everyone, and welcome to the LatinX Business Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Gomez, and if you're looking to demystify the world of business through the raw, authentic stories of Latinx entrepreneurs, you've come to the right place. As someone with an MBA and an IRS enrolled agent license, I spent years helping freelancers, partnerships, and S corporations navigate the often tricky waters of the US tax law. Now, I'm bringing that expertise and passion to this community right here. So thank you for tuning in, and you know what? It's time to talk business. Born in the Dominican Republic, Olga Abinader emigrated with her family to Salem, Massachusetts in the early 1990s. Her family maintained strong connections to their Caribbean heritage by speaking only Spanish at home. And as a fully bilingual English and Spanish speaker, Abinader translated for family and friends who had limited English skills, which later proved to be an asset in her career. In 1999, Abinader assumed the leadership role in La Unión Latina organization, established in 1987 at Salem High School to celebrate Latin American culture and traditions. In 2007, Hispanic Business Inc. recognized Abinader as a Winner's Circle Scholar at the Hispanic Business Annual Woman of the Year Awards event. Abinader is currently Matrix New World engineering firm, an all-women-led firm, as a Director of Environmental Review and Land Use Planning. In addition to her many duties at Matrix, Abinader leads the company's Environmental, Social, and Governance Initiative. ESG is a defined set of standards that an ethical, environmentally conscious, socially conscious, and transparent company agrees to uphold. In doing so, ESG-focused companies take a fresh, progressive approach in the way they do business. They do their part in tackling the health of our planet and addressing inequality both internally, within their company, and externally where feasible. Furthermore, she is a participant of Advanced Energy Group, an organization that delivers systemic change on energy, equity, and resilience. Abinader received her Master's of Urban Planning from Harvard University Graduate School of Design and holds a Bachelor of Arts in Urban Studies from Brown University. Please join me in welcoming Olga Abinader to the show today. Hi, Olga. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. And yeah, let's get right into it. Start with the first question I have for you. What is your preferred pronoun and maybe why?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. I prefer the pronoun she. I think it's, really something that I've associated with all my life. That's why I prefer it.
Yeah. Okay, good. And within the Latinx community, how do you identify yourself?
Okay. I had to think about it a little bit. I think the terms Latinx and Latina are terms that I really agree with. They seem to me to be very unifying. I like the idea of belonging to a larger family of a Latinx community, more so than Hispanic, which to me, it's not something that I identify with as a term.
Yes, it's funny you say that because I have other friends too who don't identify with Hispanic. Everyone has a different experience actually here in the US, but no, I appreciate that. So Latina and Latinx, we'll go with both of those. And so tell me more about your heritage. What are your origins and where do you come from?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Santo Domingo, the capital of the Dominican Republic. And I lived there for the first 7 years of my life. That impression that you get as a young person of, who you are and where you come from was, for me, feeling very Dominican and very much from Santo Domingo for a very long time and to this day. I also want to say that I do celebrate my background as an American as well, because I have spent most of my life here. So I'm really proud of both aspects of who I am. But yeah, my heritage is Dominicana.
Dominicana, okay. And then so I would say maybe both of your parents are from La Dominica?
They're both from Dominican Republic, yes.
Okay, so born and raised. Okay, and tell me, what was your journey? How did you guys end up here in the US, I guess?
Yeah, so back in 1990, my family was experiencing some economic turmoil. There were very long lines that they had to make in order to just get the basics in Santo
Mm-hmm.
Domingo, from gas to milk. And at that point, my maternal grandmother had moved to the Boston area and had established, her life here as a factory worker in the
Yeah.
United States. And my parents just decided that the best opportunities would be for myself and for my siblings would be here in the United States. So they took a chance
Yeah.
and they said, you know what, we're going to give our family a better life and an opportunity at great academics and hopefully professional success. So we packed our bags and moved to the United States.
Yeah. So this was back in 1990, right?
Yeah,
And
that was
I
great.
know we were talking before, and like, can you explain a little bit about your parents' background in terms of their work and their
Of
education?
course.
Because I think that's
Yes,
very important to highlight.
absolutely. So my parents are the first generation from, especially from my mother's side, who are educated as college graduates. My
Mm-hmm.
mother is trained as an economist academically, and my father is an engineer. So both of them had college degrees, and that's something that I grew up with, and that was very celebrated in my family, and also set a really high standard for me as a young student. My parents had
Yeah.
gone to school, and then that was an indication that they expected me to do the same going to college. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. And like, even to make the choice, I'm so how can I say it, in awe, right? Like, you weren't born here, but I feel like maybe, I had the experience of being born here, and
Hmm.
I just wouldn't, I mean, myself, I wouldn't leave the US for a better economic opportunity, right? Or
Right.
a better
Yeah.
education. It's almost like it's a gift, right, that our parents have given us. So to
Yes.
hear that two
Yes.
extremely well educated people decided that like they needed to leave their country to come to
Yeah.
this country, right? Which I
Absolutely.
think is a very commonly shared experience. And it's just so important to highlight that, because I feel like people move not because for economic reasons, for
Hmm.
upward mobility, for a better
Hmm.
future for their family. And that's truly what a lot of Latinos and Latinx people here in the US are doing. So when I hear stories like that, I always want to highlight them, because I think they're really the foundation of who you are, right?
Exactly.
And
Our
that's
family.
important. Yeah, and I think that's totally important, because in the business world, all of this gets lost in translation, right? Like,
Exactly.
it's like, oh, you hear about the success story, and all you hear is how great this person is, but who are they and where do they come from, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I
That's what
think
we need to know.
I think that your upbringing, the people who surround you, your family, they really exert a huge influence and who you end up becoming, whether it's good or maybe less so. And for me, my family has been really the foundation for all of the success I've had academically and also in
Hmm.
my career later in life. And they influence my career choice and everything. I mean, they really have been these sort of giants who
Yeah,
sacrificed everything, literally everything, our home, our community, our language, our culture,
yeah.
and their own careers, in fact, because my mother didn't
Hmm.
end up working in her field of choice here. My father also, ended up changing his profession. So they sacrificed literally everything in order to take that chance and give myself and my siblings the opportunity to pursue anything that we wanted. So to me, I never take that for granted. I'm always very
Yeah.
grateful to them.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. And actually, that's a good transition over to my next question for you. How did you become interested in becoming an urban planner?
It's funny that you ask because this also ties to my family.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
my experience as an immigrant. So when I was very young, still living in the Dominican Republic, we were very close to my father's family, who most of them are still there. Two women architects and one a real estate developer on my father's side of the family. And
Hmm.
growing up, I would visit their homes. I'd see all of their architectural drawings. I saw, with Spanish, you call this a maqueta. It's a physical three-dimensional model of entire neighborhoods and communities that were just there for you to play with and reorganize into a very beautiful set of homes. And
Oh,
to me,
wow.
I saw that and I thought, wow. I remember thinking to myself, is this someone's job? This is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so because I wanted to create homes for people and build communities too, and then having that compounded with the fact that I had to start over, my family came to a new community, a
Mm-hmm.
new home. We had, in some ways lost our home in Dominican and found the opportunity to rebuild here. That
Mm-hmm.
just stuck to my mind so much
Right.
that, yeah, so much that when I joined decided on my major at my undergrad at college, I picked architectural studies and urban studies. And then in graduate school, I chose urban planning.
Yeah.
So that really was just such a strong influence in my life. Just having that representation, having the female architects, seeing that, someone who looked like me and sounded like me and was in my family, just succeeding in that kind of career. I mean, to me, it made such an impression on me. So I'm very fortunate.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome to hear because, like, I guess just growing up, we always hear stories of like, you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, and it's very basic,
Yes.
or a cop or a fireman.
Right.
Like
Right.
for you to decide, I want to build better communities. And now it all makes sense, like how that impacted you in such a grand scale that
Yes.
you decided that that would be your life's mission, right? Create better
Absolutely.
communities for our people. So
Exactly.
why don't you tell me a little bit about the firm you work for and then
Uh-huh.
maybe what kind of services they provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So similar to, the role that I have in environmental planning and urban planning,
Mm-hmm.
the company Matrix New World Engineering is a wonderful women-owned company that has these incredible scientists and engineers and consultants like myself. And their
Mm-hmm.
focus beyond, supporting community building in a variety of ways is solving climate change challenges,
Mm-hmm.
working on renewable energy projects, for example, offshore wind, which is really big, focusing
Yeah.
on infrastructure projects. And this is all across the country and in the Caribbean. So I'll give you a few examples of
Yeah.
some projects that the company has worked for in the past. We supported the Gulf of Mexico and its cleanup efforts following the BP oil spill. We supported the rebuild of communities in New Jersey after the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy. We sent engineers to study the storm damages in Puerto Rico following the aftermath of Hurricane Maria. It's incredible work, ecological restoration and permitting and engineering. I
Yeah.
mean, there's so much variety for a firm of, 250, a woman-owned company. And I recommend that if anyone is interested in what we do, we provide so many services, just to visit our website at www.mnwe.com, which
Mm-hmm.
stands for Matrix New World Engineering.
Yes, and you know what? I will definitely have that in the podcast notes. So if anyone that
Great.
wants to get in contact with the firm or with you, I'll have that information in there as well.
Okay.
Um, and so let me ask you this question. So you work with the firm that works on environmental issues through like an urban planning lens.
Yes.
Tell me more about like your position and how you are or how you affect that process.
Of
Like,
course. Of course.
yeah.
I'm part of a smaller group in the ecological team that works on permitting and environmental impact statements for clients who need to disclose the environmental effects of their projects, for example,
Mm-hmm.
when they're obtaining local approvals. But also there's an element of urban planning, which we do, which ties to public outreach. One example is that we were consultants to the city of Syracuse this past year. And as part of a larger team of consultants, we basically helped the city of Syracuse and local
Mm-hmm.
developers in Syracuse
Mm-hmm.
complete both public meetings and documentation that essentially qualifies them for state funding in order to build new commercial spaces, new community facilities, new housing, improve their infrastructure, and basically revitalize their downtown corridors. So that's something that's really about rebuilding communities downtown and emphasizing revitalization, which to me is really fun and, very much tied to my vision for what my career would entail.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes total sense. Like, definitely when you're thinking about communities and when there's events and there's a central hub, so many people want to feel connected to one area or to have a sense of community.
Exactly.
And a physical location can definitely do that, right? I think cities are identified by structures and items that have been developed, even if it's privately, but people are like, oh, in this city, you can go do this, or you can eat and
Exactly.
wine and dine. And I don't know, I'm just going out of a limb here, but a fun city might have like dining, a statue, a center, or like things for people to congregate and go do stuff, right? Which, when there's a disaster, I'm guessing, all of that or most of it could be wiped out in moments notice. But
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
but your part in this process is to bring that awareness and to bring the community in for input, right? Because
Part
otherwise,
of it,
then
yes.
the developers are just like deciding what the community is going to get when it really should be the community itself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were fortunate enough in Syracuse that the developers are, longtime Syracuse residents themselves and owners of buildings that have really
Hmm.
wonderful community centers with wonderful non-for-profit programs supporting young students who, were from inner city neighborhoods or vulnerable communities, just helping them get to college. I think we were so fortunate that we had such a great set of clients with the city of Syracuse in that project. But yes, our firm offers a lot of different services, including permitting, public outreach in that urban planning setting, and also,
Hmm.
as you mentioned, in the event of a climate disaster, we offer them ways of rebuilding in a way that's resilient and can withstand future climate events. Very recently, we had a major
Yeah.
snowstorm in Buffalo. We're
Hmm.
reading, of course, in the news about, hurricanes that are occurring with much more frequency than ever. And a lot of communities are really interested in investing in their infrastructure in a way that can withstand future events and also reduce their reliance on different types of fuels, and they want to move toward offshore wind and clean energy. I'm very fortunate to work for a company that really cares and really is interested and really doing good. So I'm
Hmm.
very, very privileged to be in this position for sure.
Okay. So with that said, what does success look like when you guys
Hmm.
complete a project? Like, is there
Yeah.
certain figures you guys have or outcomes you look at? Because
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would be important to know.
I mean, I think success is measured very differently depending on who you ask. But I personally, through my work, measure my success by knowing that I've helped a community go through an entire process and secure funding to make their
Hmm.
downtown very activated, very fun, have a certain identity that they're really aiming for. So for me, just helping others, making
Hmm.
helping them achieve their ultimate goals and making that community so much better to live and really enjoy.
Hmm.
um, I do have to mention something though. I mean, I think success to me is measured by our client success, but also from a more personal level, especially when I worked in the public sector. I also try and measure my success by helping bring up others who maybe are coming from similar backgrounds, just need a mentor or a guide to help them advance their careers. I was in the public sector for 13 years working as an urban planner. And I saw a lot of people who just needed guidance and needed support, and they worked as part of my team. Today, they are directors of their own teams, they're small business owners, or they've completely changed their career paths. And oftentimes they'll thank me and they'll say, Olga, you opened a door for me, and your guidance and your support was something that really just inspired me. And
Hmm.
sometimes I was their direct mentor, and other times, it wasn't necessarily their direct mentor, but they saw my career journey and that inspired them. And to me, that's also a way to measure success, really helping
Hmm.
others find their path.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays we all want instant gratification. We all want to know, like,
It
how am
doesn't work
I?
that way.
It doesn't work that way,
Yes,
come back a couple years later, a decade
exactly.
later, and you'll really find like the true meaning of success. And the
Right.
truth is, that like And that's why I want to highlight your story, right? Because as Latinos in this
Mm-hmm.
country, there's stereotypical jobs that, people take on
Yes.
if they don't go on to college and stuff. But like,
Right.
even being an urban planner, like, what is that?
What is that?
Like, have you,
Exactly.
when has your tia or tio be like, you should be an urban planner, Like,
Yeah,
I
exactly
want,
right.
I want like other, especially little children to know that there's more paths. And I think the
Exactly.
reason it's important to highlight even, what industry you're in and the career path you take in is because it's non quote unquote traditional in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of like popular culture. And
Exactly.
so I just, and people get so bogged down sometimes by like, oh, like my dad wants me to be a doctor or a lawyer or businessman or businesswoman, but there's so many other paths students
That's
can
right.
take. But yes, okay, so just moving the interview along in your field, right, as an urban
Mm-hmm.
planner, as
Mm-hmm.
a Latina in urban planning, how
Mm-hmm.
has that experience been for you? Have you found any adversities you've had to deal with or any
Yeah.
setbacks? What has been your experience?
Well, currently, I'm very fortunate that my journey in the private sector has been a very supportive one, especially working for a woman-owned business.
Mm-hmm.
And with a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and sustainability, and helping communities. But I mean, throughout my entire academic life and my career in the public sector and elsewhere, I think one of the challenges has been my own mindset. Sometimes, just feeling that this sense of imposter syndrome of, oh,
Yes.
do I belong here?
Yeah.
Am I good enough? Do I have the right background, and do they have the right education? And comparing myself to others and really feeling that sense of fear of, wow, am I good enough? Sometimes even that imposter syndrome was fueled externally by some peers who don't necessarily have my same background or experience, who were very quick to judge what I'm capable of, and what I can achieve and what I can't. And I've had that happen both in school, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and and also in my professional setting. But in the end, one of the things that really helped me was just finding my community of mentors, relying heavily on my family for support, remembering that each setback, each failure is really an opportunity to stand up, grow, and never take no for an answer.
Oh
Yes.
my God, I love that. I
Work
love that.
harder.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah,
so for me, yeah, that's
mhm.
been I've had challenges for sure, and we all experience them. I just remember what my parents did, and their decision to move us to the United States in order for us to luchar
Yeah.
for a better
Oh my
life.
God. Yeah. If that's not a motivator itself, right?
Hmm.
The fact that someone decides a better future for my children and my family is elsewhere where our culture and language and identities are different,
Hmm.
it just boggles my mind, to be honest, because I don't have that personal experience, but I have the what's it called, the effect of that experience, right, of their
Hmm.
choices. So I'm
Exactly.
very
Exactly.
conscious of our privilege of being here in the US, right? So yeah, I love that. I love what you just said. And definitely,
Thank you.
I think even myself, when I found myself like not in my 20s, not knowing what exactly I was supposed to do. And then you're like, crap, I got this degree, but I'm supposed to do something with it.
What do I
And
do?
now yeah, now I owe all this money. Like nothing makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
Nothing makes sense at that point. But I
Oh,
think in
yes.
retrospect, like you're right. You really do have to hold on to your family, to the support they provide you, and the
Hmm.
community. Like that was very key that you said the community of mentors that you've taken on, and that
Of
have
course.
gotten you to where you're at now, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yeah, I definitely feel like I want to keep providing that even for generations to come, which is probably one of the main reasons I even started the podcast, because I feel like there are so many conversations I was having with my
Hmm.
clients, with business owners, and other successful Latinos and Latinas that I sometimes for whatever reason, there's everyone's working in silos and everyone's hardworking
Yes.
and everyone's pushing through. So I understand that, right? It's just not everyone will have access to the same information. But yeah,
Hmm.
hopefully, this podcast and the information you've provided does. If
It's
you were
wonderful.
to recommend a podcast or a book to
Hmm.
our listeners, what would be your recommendation?
You mean outside of this one?
Oh, yeah, outside of this one.
Yes. Okay. Something that people don't know about me is that I'm very inspired to educate myself on investing and financial independence, because that's
Oh,
something that I think we as a Latinx community don't always have access to, much like you were saying.
hmm.
People work in silos. So during the pandemic, as I was exploring different podcasts, I came across one that's called Our Rich Journey.
Okay.
Um, and it basically follows the life of a family of color who happened to be government employees previously and urban planners. And
Oh,
it's amazing. It accounts for like their path of living frugally and saving money and investing money. And a few years ago, they reached financial independence and decided to pursue their own podcast, their own, separate business that they're pursuing in kind of the real estate world. And they ended up moving away to Portugal to, have a wonderful quality of life. So basically, they've retired. And
yeah.
to me, obviously my path is a little bit different, but their podcast really inspired me to really think outside the box,
Hmm.
to embrace my career in the private sector as someone who is interested in, thinking about my income, thinking about my family, and thinking
Yeah.
about saving and investing.
Hmm.
Um, so, that podcast, I truly enjoy it. It really challenges me to really think about my goals and to like think big.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's been
even
really
like
wonderful.
even thinking about like generational wealth, right?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
we like our parents started from scratch. So it definitely feels there's some catch up that we need to do. But I mean, there's also another point to add to that, obviously, is that you need to start thinking about that. If you
Right.
don't think about it early on, then you kind of start a little bit later in life, which is all good, as long as you start. But
Exactly.
I feel like, yeah, if I don't know if this is just my own personal opinion, like any academics here in the US should involve some sort of financial planning, either at a high school
Hmm.
level,
Hmm.
so that everyone kind of gets it. Because what they offer right now is almost non-existent. I think there's like a life class or something. Haven't been in high school for a long time, but I do think, like, why aren't we teaching our kids about investing or
Hmm.
financing, or what does it mean to take out a loan, and what is it going to
Exactly.
mean to take out that credit card,
Exactly.
right? With
Exactly.
such high interest at the moment. And but no, thank you for sharing that. I'll definitely add that as well to the podcast notes. So we'll definitely that way if they want to listen to that podcast as well. But tell me this, like, a couple, and this is probably one of our final questions, but what piece of advice would you give future generations of Latinx children?
Hmm.
And maybe how do they become world problem solving experts like you?
Well, thank you for the compliment. I think really focusing on their family first as the people who care for them most, who want to see them succeed. Think about, whenever they need help, really ask for it. Surround themselves by mentors and people who have achieved a career that they're interested in. And maybe that's someone from outside the family. But really just surrounding yourself with people who are going to be supportive or provide you with mentorship and
Hmm.
information and access to different, career paths, I think is something that I would strongly recommend. And then one other thing, and maybe actually two other things.
Yeah,
Uh,
go for it.
first, first being that in their path, to college or in their path when they start their careers, they're going to experience imposter syndrome. I mean, for us as a community, sometimes that's inevitable. So,
Yeah.
so plan ahead, and remember that it happens to all of us, no matter where we are in our life stages, career wise or professionally or even personally, and plan ahead and really build that community and rely on it. of peers and mentors who are going to be supportive and remind them of why they're fighting that good fight and, building their careers. So that's the first thing. And then the second would be, once they, really have achieved a major career milestone, reach that director role or pass the bar exam and become an attorney or something similar,
Yeah.
that, I would say, think about the next generation and think about the responsibility that they now have in order to lift and grow those other young people who are looking to them as mentors. That's what I
Yeah.
would say.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's such good advice. Because, I think the work never stops, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely feel like I've gotten a lot of help to reach where I'm at, right?
Right. Right.
And others before me thought that I needed this help and that I needed to go as far as I could as well. So I love that advice from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But yeah, that was my last question, and just one more follow-up question on
Yep.
that, Olga. If someone wants to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you? Do you have social media? Do you prefer email, a phone call?
Yes, I would say reach out to me via our website. That's
Yeah.
www.mnwe.com, which stands for Matrix New World Engineering, the contact page there. And also, I have a presence on social media, particularly linkedin.com. So you can search me by my first and last name, and you'll find me also through Matrix New World Engineering. So
Awesome.
that's how to reach
Yeah.
me.
Yes, thank you so much for providing that information. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, taking some time out of your busy schedule. And yeah, hopefully I'll have you back soon for another topic of conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Talk soon. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with your network. Your support helps our LatinX business community grow stronger with every listen, and I truly invite you to connect with us. Send us your questions, your comments, or even your own business stories to randy@rgtaxes.com. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, keep learning, keep building your business, and keep growing your business mindset.